Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I am back. And this week, I am so excited because if you were at FANHS, then you would know what a privilege it is to have our headliner be on this show for everyone to get to know him and also be inspired of what he does, and especially in the community. So without further ado, let me welcome Talilo. Hello, hello.
Hello, kamusta? How you doing?
Super appreciate you. I know we briefly met when you came to visit last week at FAM, and you truly made Stockton, the community, so happy. We appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you said yes to being here, because there's a lot of other members that would love to know more about your journey and your history. And just to align, of course, I want to um, learn, what is your fans journey, your Filipino American history journey.
Yeah, so I was born Iloilo, Panay. My ancestors, I can trace them back to Antique, Panay. They spoke Kinaraya, my great great grandmother, and then she was a manggagamot, which is like a good shaman out there. But a lot of my roots today are in Bacolod, the migration story from Panay to Negros, and then my grandparents, my lolo and my lola, meeting there on a farm in the struggle. Um, uh, Found their roots in the city of Bacolod, in Barangay Bata, and in the slums of Bata, they built a home. And today, our home is looks way better than it did 30 years ago. And that's in part due to my nanai, who migrated to the States and had to make a difficult decision, taking me with her because my father was in the American Army and Irish background. And she had to make a decision between leaving my big brother, my kuya, and or take me to the States. And it was a decision that was really hard for her because she felt like she really didn't have no choice. There was things going on between the American military and the Philippines government that kind of forced them to pull out for a little bit. And because I was an American citizen by birth and a Filipino citizen by birth, and they were married, my mom had to decide to go with me. And in America, she faced a lot of mahirap. It was very very hard for her because the my father's family was low key racist and treated her unfairly, not feeding her, locking her in a room, beating her up. I grew up in an abusive household too. My mom didn't have a community. So some Filipinos that migrate to the States, they migrate with families and they get tapped in at a Daly City or LA or somewhere that has like a strong Filipino community. But um, when we came to the Bay Area, we didn't. She was secluded from the Filipino community, so she couldn't speak English. I translated for her. She doesn't speak Tagalog either. She speaks Hiligaynon, so there's a lot of barriers growing up, and eventually we ended up on the streets. We ran away, and it was very hard to finally place roots in America. Um, but yeah, just to answer your question, I'm an immigrant here, but I have
Mhm.
American blood too.
Right.
However, I'm not connected to that part of my roots, and I
Mm-hmm.
wish I was. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can't control how the parents treat their children or their families, and that was just the beginning of my story.
Right. And what I love about what you're doing right now is really empowering. I just want to, for me, I don't want to say just the youth, because the elders too.
Mm,
I witnessed you perform the other day, and
mhm.
it was just so powerful. So I want to talk about that. How did, like, coming from the Philippines, with your journey to the US, was music always in your heart?
I think looking back now, when I was, I think around 8 years old, I got impacted by. I was living in Antioch, California at the time,
Yeah.
and going to elementary school there in East Bay. And I remember one of my friends bringing a blue rag to school and having a knife on him. And
Mm.
so in school, there was like an impact of me being attracted to that type of lifestyle because um, no parents at the home. Talaga, my mom is
Yeah.
always working.
Right.
The father figure is always changing.
Yes.
I'm going to, find my belonging other places. And I felt like growing up, that's that lifestyle I was attracted to. And what came with it was hip hop, the
Hmm.
the story of the streets, the language of the streets, the music of the streets. I quickly gravitated to that, and artists like Tupac and Tech Nine and like all these artists, and then there's Spice One, RBL, or like the Bay Area artists, E42 Short, like all these artists. I slowly like became familiar with, and I think that influence on my music shows to this day, where um, music became a place of like uh, a voice for myself. And then once I started writing lyrics, I started writing poetry. I showed it to a couple of my friends. They said, "Hey, you sound like you just need to put a rhythm to it." So I would read it to a rhythm, and then it sounded like I could rap. And then when I was in Portland, I migrated to Portland when I was 15, um, and coming from Southern Oregon. So first is the Bay
Hmm.
Area,
Yep.
Southern Oregon, and
Hmm.
then Portland.
Right.
And when I got to Portland, I became homeless.
Hmm.
And when I was homeless, I used my music
Yeah.
to survive. I started rapping on the streets because my Nubia at the time was pregnant, and I
Hmm.
had a sign asking for money,
Right.
but nobody would give us money. And then one day I just snapped. I seen someone walk past me. He had change in his pocket. I can hear the change.
Yeah.
He looked at my sign. I said, "Hey, my girlfriend's pregnant. We just need some food." He walks by, and I remember feeling so mad.
Hmm.
So I went down, and I see all these street performers downtown. I know they're getting money. So I went downtown, and I went boom, started hitting my chest and
Yeah.
rapping.
Yeah.
And I remember being so nervous. My hands were shaking.
Right.
I'm closing my eyes, I'm rapping, and then I open my eyes, and there's a lot of people around me. And then that
Wow.
kind of like started my journey of like performing and
Hmm.
fighting my nervousness. And
Hmm.
it got to the point where I would get kicked off of buses because I was banging on the back of the window,
Yeah. Yeah.
making beats.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, I would rap because I loved it so much. And then
Hmm.
even when I got sentenced to prison, in prison I would even rap and bring entertainment to the other inmates,
Hmm.
banging on a phone booth and
Yeah.
trading off rhymes with other artists. So throughout my journey in trauma and
Hmm.
struggle, music has always been the thing that has given me a place of purpose, and then
Right.
also a voice.
Hmm. Amazing. I just came from a
That was
talk.
a long answer. Sorry.
No, that's great because I feel like history repeats itself, right?
Mm,
Um, like I mentioned, I just came from a talk speaking to SUSD, and we shared with the parents there about the story of Larry Itliong. And when you were sharing your story with me, it kind of reminds me of his journey, leaving the Philippines at 15 years old, trying to pursue, wanting to be a lawyer in the US. But then, hello, he comes here. It's like, oh, back then he was not welcome,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And then to the point that he became an activist and just really supported um, other farm laborers to now it's like he's celebrated. And for you to just share your story like that, everybody has a struggle. It's how you overcome it.
Yes.
What will you do to survive, right?
Mm,
And again, like I said, witnessing you perform, I just saw so much passion.
mm,
And like you said about closing your eyes and just being downtown, I felt like that's what you were doing, because there was a time, and after I met you, I well, when I met you, I shared with you, hey, that was deep what you said, and you're like, what did I say?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
there
yeah, I
was
don't know.
a lot that came out. So
There's no
I was
worry.
actually standing next to Rebecca. She's also an educator here. Her husband is Dylan, who is You might have met him, the director of Little Manila Rising.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And we were standing there listening to you, and she's just like, "I need those lyrics. Those that was so deep, you
Hey.
know." And
You
I
talking
think you,
about the Katipunan song? Where I
I
killed.
forgot what it was, but we were just like, he
Oh, hell
just said a lot.
yeah.
I think it was the song. It was a song before you mentioned Apple.
Oh,
So you just, and then
Katipunan.
your co-performer just said, "I didn't know he was going to do that,"
Oh, you talking about the acapella. I know what you're talking about now.
and we were just like, "So was that something that you already had planned, or did it just come from the heart?"
That's an acapella that I have like ready to go. I usually have like
Right,
a, a segue where I can
right.
actually like,
It was so
yeah,
deep.
I
It
felt like
was
that was the right
awesome.
time to do it, you know?
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. And just for you to know, also Stockton is so very historic. You
Yeah, yeah.
know, it was pretty much the number one city with majority of Filipinos back in the 50s or even earlier.
Mhm.
So imagine Vegas right now. Downtown was Vegas before Vegas came around.
Wow.
International artists would fly or will travel from far away just to come to Stockton because they knew that the Filipinos were there. Just love to party.
Wow. That's amazing.
You know, that's why we got to bring you back again. And yeah, like I
Mhm.
said, the inspiration obviously you shared with it comes from struggle, but I want to hear your Apple story again. How did that come about?
Oh, the Apple story. So after I got released from prison, it was
Hmm.
hard for me to survive with my. I have violent charges on my record, also drug related charges.
Right.
So it was hard for me to get an apartment, get a job. Like there are jobs out there, but nothing that I felt like w- matched what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to school. I
Hmm.
went through these drug recovery programs to get housing. So there's I was limited, but I was still getting by.
Right.
Um, Went to school for music, and then I got hired as a mentor. And
Hmm.
being a mentor, I ended up serving the homeless youth that I grew up around and
Nice.
with. So I
Hmm.
was giving back, and through that process of giving back, I
Hmm.
think I think during that time, I was also hungry for my Filipino roots. And
Right.
that's when I started meeting organizations in Portland that were helping me educate me on Carlos Bulosan and
Hmm.
Harriet Leong and
Hmm.
Gabriela Silang and the Katipunan movement, and even before then,
Yeah.
Lapu Lapu and all them cats, right?
Mhm.
So I was starting to get more understanding where we came from, and it made sense of like my migration story. Because imagine you grow up with all this trauma, you grow
Yeah.
up with all this struggle, but you don't know why. You just
Right.
like this is how life is. It is what it
Mhm.
is. And I think I got tired of saying it is what it is.
Exactly.
I wanted to figure out why I was here and why we were all here and why we struggled the way we did. So that the mentorship, the relearning our history, it all kind of like um it invigorated a passion in me to reconnect with our roots. And when I heard about Apo Wangod, she was getting known for reviving these tattoos, and I'm like, whoa,
Yes.
we got our own. I thought it was just Samoa or
Yep.
Hawaii or like Polynesians that do this
Mhm.
stuff. Like, no, we have our own. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know about that. So it was a goal of mine to go to her village, and I found a way to get up
Nice.
there.
Mm.
When I was around her, she never drank, she never grabbed my titi, and I was like, I was I was upset. I was like, well, she don't like it. She grab everybody titi, but she don't grab mine. And then what I realized is she's seen that I was there for a different reason, because I
Wow.
wasn't there to get a tattoo. I was there
Right.
to I wanted to do a music video with her. I wanted to
Yeah.
learn the creation story of Kalinga.
Yeah.
I wanted
Mhm.
her to give me a tribe name.
Right.
I was like, tattoo is there, but I want more than the
Yeah.
tattoo.
Yeah.
I want to use my music to amplify her voice and
Nice.
be connected to it. And she said yes to everything. She took me to her home. Uh,
Wow.
and she told me the creation story of Kalinga. She told me about a flood that happened, and they have like a similar
Mhm.
creator that sent down their son. And she told
Wow.
me the number one thing that she wants to leave behind for the world, in terms of like, and it wasn't tattoos. She said
Mm.
the most important thing that she wants to leave behind for people and for them to understand is to have land. because if
Yes.
you have land, you can grow rice and you can trade it. You can always survive. Um,
Wow.
and the tattoos are important too because they're the only thing
Mhm.
you can take with you when you pass away. But the
Right.
land is what sustains us. You know what I mean? So um, I I also asked her after that to be in a music video with me, and she said yes. We got up at 6 a.m. She put me in her traditional clothes.
That's
She
so
plays,
cool.
she plays the nose flute in there, and
Wow.
the next day we left, and you know I run a youth center in America. I
Mhm.
started my own youth program
Right.
after being a mentor for so long. And
Mhm.
when we got back to America, our youth program closed down and we had to like rebuild and all that. So 4 years after I met with Apowango, I didn't touch the project. I
Mhm.
didn't release it, I didn't finish it. And then just I think last year I decided to I started reviving my tattoos with the Four Waves tribe in Orange County from
Mhm.
Spiritual Journey Tattoo, and they revived my tattoos, and it encouraged me to go back to talk to Apawangod about releasing the project. So I sent someone up to the village to show
Mhm.
her the music video, and she
Mhm.
surprised me. She said, "I want you to come back. I want Talilo back. I want to kill some pigs for him on my birthday. Let's
Oh my
celebrate.
gosh.
I want to have the community be in the music video to make it big."
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
we ended up going back at the beginning of this year to do the music
Wow.
video. Unfortunately, they had some people that passed away up there, so they couldn't wear the cultural wear.
Right. Mhm.
So there was a lot of adapting up there, but they still did
Mhm.
the festival. And if you look at the music video, you'll see like a whole bunch of tourists instead
Right.
of traditional people in traditional
Mhm.
wear. But we still made it happen. And I think the most important thing I got from that experience is the first time I went there, I had a connection with Apawangod. The
Right.
second time I went there, I have a connection with the elders and the
Mm.
villagers. And
Nice.
now I know that their struggle. It's not
Mm.
just everyone goes there to get tattoos, but they have
Yeah.
an irrigation problem because of all the attention.
Right.
The side of the hill is falling off because
Yeah.
of the irrigation is not good. They don't have an ambulance there. There are
Right.
things that are going on in the spirit of Larry Itlong.
Mm.
There's an activism component to being Filipino. And I think that you can have all the pride in the world. You can have the Filipino flag, you have the
Mhm.
tattoo. But if
Mhm.
you're not going back to help the indigenous people, the people that are
Yes.
still here where
Mhm.
we come from, what are you doing? So
Right.
it's a part of the movement.
I'm so glad you shared that because, I lived there pretty much 20 years. Only moved back here 3 years ago. All
Oh,
my
well.
kids were born over there. And I feel as though, yeah, my purpose or my husband and I's purpose is to really connect, educate our community here, what's going on out there.
Mm.
Yeah. And I always tell this to my kids, and they see the difference because there's so much privilege out here. And they're just like, Mom, I go to school and it's like a buffet in the cafeteria because what
Mhm.
they saw in the Philippines, kids don't get that.
Yeah, they don't get that out there.
And then they see the kids throw away food and they're just like, oh my gosh, Mom. To me, I feel good about my kids knowing,
Yeah, yeah.
but we need to kind of spread that word that, hey, yes, in America, so blessed.
So blessed.
So blessed.
Uh, sometimes when I was in Kalinga, I brought my anak with me up there,
Yeah,
and he didn't have all the food and all that. Like we
right.
ate as a community, but the villagers and the community,
Yeah,
the Bayanihan spirit is so alive there
yeah,
that I almost felt like that was more important than
yep,
the abundance of food in America.
right.
That you grow up with
Mm-hmm.
a closeness in a village as opposed to
Yes.
here. You're so disconnected from people.
Everybody's busy. What are we busy about? But
We don't trust each other,
yeah,
and up in Kalinga they have to work together. They
right.
have to work
To
through things.
survive.
Mhm.
And I love this conversation. See, this is the reason why I am wanting to connect with community leaders, and I saw that in you when I met you, and also doing my own research. But I want to continue this and support your projects, and I would love for you to come back also to Stockton and mentor a lot of our youth here and be part of also the movement of FANHS. But apart from other things, what else? How can we support you? What's happening? What's the near future? Do you have any more performances or mentorship programs coming up?
I'm actually building a youth center right now, rebuilding.
Okay.
I'm locating a building on the east side of Portland. East side Portland is demographically more diverse and more has lower poverty and
Mm-hmm.
more violence and more drug use, and the kids are impacted the
Yeah.
most. So, we're building a youth center right now. Hopefully I'll launch it at the beginning of next year. But besides that, I have a music video coming with Tech Nine. I just released the project on the 15th of this month,
Yep.
and I'm gonna drop a music video for the last couple of days of Filipino American History Month, just to
Yes.
represent. I feel like this project is has been a long time coming,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it kind of validates the path I'm on, and also it's good to see the Filipino language be represented on such a big platform. I feel like I'm
Mm-hmm.
stepping into the NBA or the pro boxing by rapping with an artist like Tech Nine, because
Yeah.
he he has a long career and he's done it
Mhm.
independently, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
And we're honored that you're doing what you're doing because once a door opens for one of us, right, it opens up for the whole community.
Oh yeah,
And thank you for continuing that journey. And like I said, you got to come back. You got to check out the museum. Maybe we can even, have a display of
yeah.
about you and your journey there. But
Oh, that'd
yeah,
be
tell them
cool.
why. Tell them why they should visit.
I think everybody should. I haven't visited it before, but you should visit it with me and check out the museum. I think Stockton is a beautiful place, has really strong history, and I
Yes.
felt the spirit there when I was there. And I got a book called Little Manila, and
Yes.
Carlos Bulasan mentioned coming to the city at that time. And I think it's important to remember not just our history back home, but the
Yeah.
struggle of surviving and building communities here in America.
Hmm.
Um, and Stockton is a good representation of that for other communities all over the country. So yes, roll with me. Next time I come, I'm pulling up. Let's go.
Yes. Thank you again. I have to invite you back again, but when you're here, we'll definitely do a tour in the museum and even showcase it because it's always changing. Right now, we've got Larry Itliong exhibit in there, but
Uh-huh.
it's just amazing that a lot of the elders are still alive to tell the story.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
of what happened to them and what happened to Little Manila and everything like that.
Can't
So
take
it's
that
nice
for
for them.
granted.
And it like what you have done, especially connecting with Apple. She is really a legend who's still alive. And you're right about that. We have to respect. If we want to go up there, guys, please just make sure you're there to really learn the culture and the needs.
I'm gonna tell
Because
y'all what. Some of y'all go up there, and I feel like knocking your ass out because you go up there and you treat her like she's a promo opportunity.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? This is
yeah,
a living person. You don't move her hands around. You don't move her face. Some one of the people like moved her face to take a picture. I was like, man, I will knock you out. But
that's terrible.
yeah, so it's like it's kind of like that, and I think that we need to come there with respect.
Yes.
And man, I feel like she needs some security, low key.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Like
You
paid
know,
security or
but that's
something.
the thing, you speaking out of, on her protection is also powerful.
Mhm.
But yeah, please, guys, if you do want to visit there, just out of respect, just be respectful. How we are respectful to our Lola and Lolo, your elders. It's the same. Always respect your elders because they have done so much for us. Um, and I always say this to the youth, like if not them, we won't be able to speak freely. We won't be able to walk into rooms and be, accepted in the table. You got to really pay respects. And I appreciate you and congratulations
Thank you.
to your achievements. And it's gonna keep going because I believe in good karma, and you are definitely doing that. So I will invite you again. We'll keep in touch. Soon, guys, we might have more collaborations with Talilo for Stockton, most
Maraming
especially.
salamat for the platform, Mare, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. Salute to all the youth holding it down.
Yes.
And I believe in all of y'all. Just stay close to your roots and keep it going. Nothing can stop you because you got an army of ancestors behind you.
Amen. Amen to that. Drop the mic. Yes.
Tapos na. Tapos.
Yeah. So again, salamat po, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you, guys.
Later. Paalam.